You hear about things happening, but it's Australia. So, I was under the assumption the banking system was actually very safe and that it wasn't going to be an issue.
At a critical point in buying his first home, Louis May was targeted by scammers. After speaking with his lawyer on the phone, he received an email with instructions to transfer the settlement funds, $109,000.
And it had the legitimate PEXA form on there with my home address, the settlement date, my name, everything to do with the settlement.
3 days later, the Commonwealth Bank called Louis asking where the funds were.
The very first thing that they tell you is pretty much, yeah, that money's gone, you're not getting that money back, which is heartbreaking.
Louis had unknowingly transferred his savings to alleged scammers who'd emailed him fake settlement forms. The bank wasn't required to compensate because, according to the Finance Ombudsman, it wasn't at fault.
If I was robbed on the street at knife point, not even punched, if someone maybe just pulled a knife or threatened me, this would be taken far more seriously.
Scams have become one of Australia's fastest growing forms of financial crime. Reported losses peaked at a record $3.1 billion in 2022, and last year, Australians reported more than $2 billion stolen by scammers.
So we're now pushing forward with adding a lot of meat to the bones to the regulatory framework so that we can improve outcomes in Australia further.
That new framework is called the Scams Prevention Framework, with codes targeting 3 sectors. Banks to identify high-risk transactions and prevent payments, telcos to detect and disrupt scam texts and calls, and digital platforms to stop fake accounts, scam messages and scam ads. Assistant Treasurer Daniel Molino is the responsible minister.
So the codes will start to take enforceable form in March of next year, by which time they will clearly set out the obligations of those 3 sectors.
Another proposal in the framework is an automatic compensation system for scam victims, paying out losses of up to $3,000. Stephanie Tonkin's Consumer Action Law Centre argues that figure is too low.
I would encourage government to reach up to $10,000. That's going to be more meaningful for scam victims, and it will cover more scam victims. It will lead to greater capacity in our system to deal with those complex disputes much more quickly.
She's closely watching a similar scheme in Britain introduced in 2024. There, victims of many bank transfer scams are generally entitled to reimbursement of up to about 175,000 Australian dollars. Why can't we do something like the UK? Why can't we have a similar model with a higher figure?
What we are seeing in the UK is that total scam losses haven't declined. I'm happy to look at new evidence as it arises, but what we're doing is building a scheme that I think is really robust to their capacity to adjust.
While supporting the idea of the SPF, those 3 sectors tasked with stopping scams have each pointed to the other when it comes to accountability. Telcos say they're not capable of detecting scams where they're often perpetrated on encrypted messaging apps, so it should be the responsibility of digital platforms, not the carriers. The platforms say banks should remain the primary point of contact for scam victims because they're the only regulated entity that can verify a consumer's loss. As for the banks disagree.
Scams don't start at a bank. They start when somebody sees an investment scam on a social media site and start to think, well, maybe I'll put my money there. And so we as an industry, the banking industry, are really very positive to see a framework that has telecommunications companies and digital platforms as part of it, because that is the opportunity to prevent scams happening in the first place.
And I think to remember too is that, scams are a traumatic thing. It's not just financial.
Claude Von Arx is an experienced financial counsellor at the National Debt Helpline.
What we need to do is I guess, limit the damage. Already we see scammers trying to circumvent some of those proposed changes and essentially going off-grid.
By off-grid, he means scammers are starting to focus in areas that sit outside the proposed framework or in grey areas. Those currently include dating platforms, cryptocurrency exchanges, and online marketplaces.
What I'd love to see is, whilst phase one is being finalised and going to be rolled out sometime next year, it'd be great if we also start working on phase two, because that's what the scammers will be doing.
So we've got some big gaping holes and we need to plug all the gaps, because scammers are like water. They find the gaps, they find the weakest links and they exploit them. It's their business model and it's lucrative and it works.
For every day that the industry has had to interrogate the draft framework, scammers have too. Are you worried about that?
It's like any regulatory regime. The perpetrators of that always get to see the regulatory regime when it's being developed and then put in place.
In Louis May's case, police have charged one person involved in the scam, but the money that was stolen is gone.
I do appreciate that the government's actually viewing this as an issue. The new laws, in my opinion, far too weak, and these types of crimes are only on the rise. They're not really going away.